fun for the episode of the Career Retrospectives show right here on the Super Review Show Network. I am joined by my two incredible friends, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, guys?
Hey, good to be back.
Yo, we're back after a little break.
Good to be back after a little slight hiatus here. So we didn't have a show last week for those who listen to us. We didn't have a show last week because we were just tied up with stuff in our personal lives. We all got busy, whatever. We're back and we're better than ever, better than ever. So Mike's birthday was October 1st.
We're better than ever. I like that. It's like a gluten. Is that a gluten endorsement or what?
I'll
Yes,
endorse gluten any day of the week.
yes,
Yeah,
we're endorsing
right.
gluten. Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, though, Mike's birthday was October 1st. Happy birthday, Mike.
That
Um,
woo 29.
it's 33.
You're 30 there.
Yeah. No, but and Mike, so we have a tradition here at Courage Perspectives where if it's our someone's birthday, they pick out an album or a discography, we break it down and we talk about it. So this was Mike's pick, which was Silverchair's. I'm gonna butcher this, Mike. You have to tell me how to say this name. Does it
Diorama. Just like
Diorama?
it looks.
Diorama, Silverchair's Diorama from 2002. So this is Mike's pick. We're gonna let him go and steal the show on this one. What do you got for Silverchair, buddy?
All right. So Silverchair has a long history. It is the first CD I ever bought with my own money. Obviously I borrowed CDs from my brother and sister as a kid, but this is the first one I went into the store, bought the CD, listened to it again and again and again. Not this album, but Silverchair as a band was the first band that I really became kind of like my flagship band for what described my interest, which was grunge music at the time. So, Frog Stomp was their first album. And I had a big frog on it. I made these two listen to one of the songs. I believe it was Fault Line. Maybe that was the song. Yeah, so Silverchair was right there with Pearl Jam. Some of the other like Bush, Nirvana, they were confused for Hanson because they all looked like Hanson with the long hair, and a lot of the fan base was not happy about that comparison because Silverchair was much more grittier and heavier, and their first two albums were like by the books, uh, like kind of like alternative rock, grunge rock kind of stuff by the books, and then they started to do this transition with the next album that kind of came out. I think it was. You could bring up that page of their discography real quick there, JT. My brain's a little fuzzy. So I think they moved on to, oh yeah, that's right, Neon Ballroom was the kind of transitional kind of more epic, more complex song structures with a lot more elements to them, the orchestral stuff. While they did do that in Freak Show, it was not as it was like more of like a switch off to a track here and there, whereas like Neon Ballroom had a lot more going on with it orchestrally and like the composition. Daniel Johns, the lead singer, he now works as like a movie soundtrack composer, and he was heading that direction, I think, through his career and kind of really showed. Started in Neon Ballroom and then eventually goes to Diorama, which was where we are now. And this album, I initially uh had listened to it a couple songs off of it and was surprised, shocked about how much it was orchestrally kind of driven and blended. So it took me a little while, but then as I like picked it up and grew up and matured, and like my understanding of music, it really began to kind of like make a major kind of nestled into a very specific sound that I would, from that point forward, look forward to hearing in their next album after that. And they've essentially went in a weird direction with that the final album that they put out before they went on hiatus. So, yeah, a Young Modern, correct. And it was quite a big, 5 years, and they were having problems. The lead singer had a lot of mental health issues, a lot of issues that he dealt with, and really drove him. And his brother, I think his brother is the drummer, and a lot of the I don't think they're all brothers. I have to like jog my memory on all this stuff. But yeah, there was just like there was a lot of his business and family involved, and kind of just all kind of fell apart. So going into this album, yeah, like you got to be a fan of like theatrics. You got to be a fan of orchestral kind of arrangements that have very progressive kind of things going on, change ups that take like almost like a experimental Beatles feel at times, or even like they do a lot of different things, ups and downs, grunge and gritty to like soaring and theatrical. And kind of reminds me of where like bands like Panic at the Disco and like some of these more theatrical kind of like rock bands had kind of drawn interest from. So we're gonna go across the night. First track off the album, you can just automatically tell it's this heavy backing orchestra with like Disney show tune feel almost at times, with like the little noises and to it. And Daniel Johns, I just absolutely love this guy's vocals. He does a lot of heavy lifting with his he just really hits all the notes and changes direction with his voice, and it really is something that I began to realize previously in their albums, but this one really, I think he really kind of did vocal lessons and kind of like was looking to kind of really take the center stage, then letting just the heaviness of the music be the the drawing factor. So yeah, just got that. It's got some interesting little things. I got a little harpsichord in the background. Like I said, it's got an experimental theatrical feel, turns and switch ups. But I really do. I love this lyrically. I love it sonically. I love it in all manners of the word of like uh of what music can bring. There's a couple elements that might be overused heavily. Some of the orchestra might be a little bit consistently heavily kind of blended in without a lot of other elements that could have come in. But overall, yeah, 8.5, just a great start to just kicking the album off and showing you like this is gonna be like a fantastical kind of like or orchestral kind of album. And then it kind of just kicks right into an opposite gear, and greatest view, one of my absolute kind of like mainstay songs in my music playlist growing up. And as I moved away to Washington State from New York, it kind of followed me over, and I listened to it in the car on all those long trips, and even at nighttime, which was interesting because it's kind of has a little more punchier, riffier kind of feel to it. It's one of those just great drive drives, absolutely humongous chorus that just really just is great. It's so catchy. It's got that combination of the old and new sound with some of the orchestral stuff, but not overdone. This is more of a rock, straightforward track. That's just straightforward, catchy, and easy to digest. So I would say a 10 out of 10 for this one. One of my all-time favorite tracks to show somebody who didn't know Silverchair, rather than going back to some of their old stuff, which I would love to show them that too. But this one kind of feels like it showcases his voice and some of the old elements of Silverchair with some of the new elements. It's kind of like the best of their sound all blended into one thing. Yeah, so 10 out of 10 for that. And then we go to like one of the tracks I actually skipped growing up was Without You. I actually kind of like as I listened to this album, I went straight over this one to the next one. But like listening to it again, it is not really my favorite song on the album. It's not bad in any stretch of the imagination, but it's just kind of a little more unusual. The drumming's a little weird, a little offbeat, a little doesn't have the air average kind of Silverchair feel to it. The vocals feel like they kind of are like juxtaposed to the music, like they don't exactly line up right at times, and they kind of come back into sync. But overall, it feels a little bit like it repeats too much, a little long in the tooth. Overall, it doesn't really change up the musical phrase that it initially presented and move on towards the middle to end of the song. It kind of does the same thing again. It's a 7 out of 10. I wouldn't turn this off if I was listening to this song, but I wouldn't exactly choose it over others. So yeah, 7 for that one. World Upon My Shoulders. This is an absolute 10 out of 10 for me. This is like just that heartfelt, gritty despair. It really shows like vocally, the things he's dealing with, the loneliness, the like kind of like overall like emotion that's coming in, being like just dealing with the stuff of life. And overall, I'm a huge chorus, love the chorus. Right up there with like Greatest View as like one of those choruses I love, and just kind of became one of those songs I just put on a lot of playlists. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Great song. Um, and these are the kind of songs with the piano uh that just like really hit hard. There's a couple songs in this album that have that kind of piano feel to it, and I feel like those songs all shine where it's just the piano alone. Although I do love the whole orchestral arrangement and the complexity and the bombastic kind of epicness, it does kind of really hit harder sometimes when there's just that lonely kind of piano and just someone singing their heart out with some other, obviously other elements. So yeah, 10 out of 10. One Way Mule, this was like one of those songs that reminded me of old uh, Silverchair, the doomy kind of grungy, like Silverchair I've always kind of loved, like Black Sabbath mixed with some Metallica, mixed with some like obviously like Nirvana and Pearl Jam. And this is one of those songs that just kind of just throw back to the heavy rhythmic, just emotional gritty delivery that Daniel Johns brings to the mix. um it's just kind of an overall dark plotting song. I do enjoy it. You know, it's like when I'm in the mode of this album, I kind of am in the mode to hear more of what the album is bringing consistently, and this is one of those songs that tries to change up the pace. So, not that it's a bad song, it's just on this album it feels a little out of place. 7.5 out of 10, still a good like example of like, hey, we're Silverchair and this is who we are originally. It's not gone, it's just not being showcased, and that's important. Showcasing something that is the consistency is what's the deal here, but also just reminding us that it's not gone or gonna disappear. And then we're back to kind of what this album is about. Tuna and the Brine. It's very orchestral, very theatrical, dynamic in the vocals. It has like the same kind of theatrical, progressive nature of like Across the Night. Uses a lot of mood setting stuff, creepy little noises, dark brooding qualities to it. Like it really does have some cool stuff going on, and also like lyrically, it's an interesting concept, uh, and it's just yeah, I was all for it with this. This is one of those songs that just you're there for how it kind of has a mysterious quality to it, and musically, 9 out of 10 for me. It definitely is the part of the album that I'm most excited for when it's like in this element. And then we got to Too Much of Not Enough. At first I skipped this song listening to this album as well. This and Without You were two songs that I just kind of, I don't know why. I just heard them and then like didn't really go through them as much. But after that, after I grew up, eventually I came back and really dug the like Goo Goo Doll kind of grunge sound here. I really do love the wall of sound, rock wise, and kind of then it switches back to that laid back kind of acoustic Goo Goo Doll kind of feel to it, and then that like ending, that tremolo guitar, that tragic kind of like feeling, emotional feeling towards the end of this track. It just really brings it all back together. Good song, much better than I remember it being. 8 out of 10. Definitely, it worked its way up. From like on the low 7, even possibly 6.5 to like 8 after just kind of really kind of this is a good driving album, and a lot of these songs work well when you're driving along, and the song kind of has that feeling with the acoustic guitar, just really sets that pace. Love Your Life. Yes, Kyle, LUV, Love Your Life. That is
Terrible.
what this. Hey, hey,
Ahead
hey,
of,
hey.
ahead
Oh,
of their time, though.
what did you say?
Ahead of their time, though.
Yeah, if we went through your entire discography of music, we would find lots of this spelling, Kyle. So I don't want to hear it.
I'm sure would.
All right. Yeah, I Love Your Life. Who knows why he spelled? Daniel Johns was kind of a interesting character because he was going through a lot of different phases. He went through like the depressive phases, like an anemic phase where he was suffering from bulimia, which is usually something a woman would suffer from. like was suffering from like stuff with like his look overall, and just he was also a very kind of like he liked to do weird things live, like do a strange voice when he's doing the song, to kind of like, freak show. He liked to be weird. And kind of just shows his he's got an interesting quality to his idea of like being an artist. Sometimes artists think something's interesting to do and just comes off kind of a little cringy. But I'm all here for it, and I think this is just one of those straightforward. It was one of my early favorites, straightforward song that I think it does repeat a lot of lyrics, and it literally repeats. You don't know the truth. I know you don't know the truth. Like we get it. It definitely repeated that way too many times in the song. Musically, it has cool uses of the orchestra and rock mixed. It may also do a better job of toning the orchestra down in favor of the rock, which I think makes it a cool, easy song to listen to and not maybe be a little blown away by some of the elements. Overall, yeah, I just love this song. One of the early favorites of mine, 8.5 out of 10. Then we moved to the lever, which is funny because when I first, so I bought this album in CD, and then I don't know what happened to the CD, so I ended up buying it off of like a questionable site, or downloading it, and somebody named it The Fever. So I thought this song was called The Fever for a very long time, and eventually realized it was called The Lever, and maybe it just was mistranslated or something. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, this is once again, it's one of those throwback Silverchair songs that's straight hard rock, and it almost feels like a nod to like hardcore metal, like hardcore rock with breakdowns and stuff. There are a couple moments in this when it just chugs and just feels almost like it's made of rock, and just and I love that. I do love that they do that kind of thing here. It has some dark sounding pieces of grunge, rhythmic riffs. Overall, I actually really enjoyed listening to this song and just how down in the dirt it feels. Yeah, so this was an 8 out of 10. Definitely one of those songs that I did enjoy more than I did previously, because it kind of uh, grew on me in the sense that it reminded me of the old, harder sound. And then my favorite thing, another song that grew on me. This track I really loved later on. Vocal delivery is so good. I love the how the piano, um, and just how overall it just has this quality to it that you're just listening to kind of someone um just cry their soul out to you and whatnot. This is a 9 out of 10. Definitely vocal delivery is very nice, and just the overall like um you know the kind of musical uh point he's getting is really captured in this song. Yeah, 9 out of 10 for that. And then after all these years, I mean, absolute banger of a song. Best song on the album. Just chorus lyrically touches you. Or orchestration, overall piano, composition. It really is one of my favorite songs, and would play this one almost as much as World Upon My Shoulders or The Greatest View. Those three songs right there were like on full repeat, and like definitely made a lot of reoccurring um shows on my playlist and whatnot. So as an overall, like, this album may not be for everyone theatrically and orchestrally. It may lean heavier to an orchestra sound and may alienate some people who are more on board for like your standard shorter song, or like with songs that are just kind of more digestible in the sense that they don't use a lot of theatrical qualities. But overall, I think it does take a lot of change of pace with different songs that have the hard rocking riffs and the overall just different kinds of flavors that they offer you throughout, even though it leans heavy to the orchestra. And I had an 8.5, and then as an inconsistent like piece of work that has all the songs kind of fit together and feel like cohesive. Obviously, there's a couple songs in there that really change it up, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think we need that. I bumped it up to a 9 because it's just I feel like it has that whole picture and feeling of what it's getting across that it does. So it feels like a very well composed musical journey that just kept me coming back and re-exploring some of the just dynamics of it. So yeah, this was a 9 out of 10 for me.
And yeah, sorry about that. I just taking a note for a sec there. Excuse me. So yeah, you heard it first, guys. A 9 out of 10 from Mike. I'm gonna go next if that's okay with you, Kyle. I just want to just run it by you if that's okay.
Go for it.
All right, cool. So for me personally, I was going into this when Mike said that we're gonna be talking about this album. I said, all right, another one that I've never heard of, but I'm more than willing to get down and listen to it. So my first couple of listens through on this record, I was very. It's funny. Mike's right though. He hits it nail on the head there. There's a lot of orchestral movements. There's a lot of maybe like late Beatles-ish or post Beatles-ish types of songs on here. They might not sound the same, but they are similar. What he said about the band coming from Australia was very interesting because Australia, there's AC/DC, the Bee Gees, you in excess, you can go down the list of bands that have come from Australia. So exposing my ears to something like this, which I had never heard of before until Mike introduced it to us and said, hey, let's do this album. It's going to be great, whatever. And I got to tell you, but I was thoroughly entertained. As my listens kept going, though, my enjoyment decreased. Not a lot, but like just every couple of listens, I was like, all right, this is where this part of this is where this track starts to fade out a little bit. This is where this kind of like just peters off a little bit for me. I still liked it though, nonetheless. I'll get through it track by track in a second, but just going into it, I was like, all right, well, let's see where it goes from here. So right off the top, Across the Night, it's a very good start to the album. I really like this one a lot. This is a 7.5 out of 10 for me. I could go up to an 8 on more listens through out of all the listens, all the several times I've listened to this album over and over again. But a 7.5 as of right now. Great. Really solid start to a really interesting album, needless to say. The Greatest View. This is actually about a 7 for me. It's still in the 7s, which is still like for me that's good. I enjoyed it for what it was worth and for what the song was going for. That's a 7 out of 10 there. Without You, another 7. Again, it's nothing too crazy, nothing too disappointing, nothing too simple. I like this one quite a bit. I enjoyed Without You quite a bit. Another 7 out of 10. Now, when you get to World Upon Your Shoulders, it's funny. Like I would almost make the argument that this is a very front-loaded album, but at the same time, I don't think so. At the same time, it's kind of like it goes up a little bit, then it goes down a little bit. It goes up, kind of like a hill and valley type of situation here. But I still like overall what I heard. I'll get to my rating when I'm done. World Upon Your Shoulders. Same about another 7 out of 10 here. I like it a lot. When I initially heard this album, I should have said this from the top, but when I initially started this record, I was like, I really thought this was going to be by the look of it, like a really heavy metal album with orchestral elements in it. But I was wrong. I was very wrong. This is actually with heavy guitars and stuff like that too, like throughout the whole hard hitting music, but it was not. And Well Upon Your Shoulders and One Way Mule kind of like cemented that for me. One Way Mule is about a 6.5 out of 10 with this one. Tuna in the I'm gonna butcher this. Or Brian, is that what you said?
Brian, yeah.
Brian,
Yep.
thank you. Yep. I'm terrible with spelling, guys. Remember me? I was like good at math and English. But Tune In to Brian, another 6.5 out of 10 for this one. This is where like my love of this album started really high. I was like, oh, cool. I listened to it over and over again. But upon more listens, the second half of the album, once we get to track 6 to 7, it kind of like goes down a little bit as time goes on. That's for me personally. That's just my listening, my ears, and my interpretation of it. So a 6.5 out of 10 for Tune In to Brian. Too much of not enough. About a 6. Love of Your Life. Yes, Kyle, I'm with you on this. I don't like how it's spelled. LUV. I mean, Bon Jovi did it. Like other artists have done it too. I'm like, come on, can we just make it LUVE? It's not that hard to spell correctly. Nuts every time.
And yet you still spelled it wrong.
Exactly. And yet they still spelled it wrong. Love Your Life, LUV. Yeah, whatever. It's not bad. It doesn't go down to a 5. This is actually a 5. It's actually a 6, a low 6 for me. Like a 6.25, if you will. It's good, but it's not a 6.5. You know what I mean? The Lever. I'm just gonna run through the last three here really quick. Last two, and then I'll get to all these years, and the outro. The Lever and My Favorite Things are both at a 5.85 out of 10. Really, just cementing what I'm saying. But this over upon more and more listens of this album, it really just shows that, and it's a long album too. It's almost an hour long at 57 minutes long, which I'm not opposed to that. I love long albums. I love long songs, but this one to me, like just for the little, things dragged on a little bit too much here, a little bit too much there. But it worked for the song, but for the overall experience, it was just kind of like took me down a notch here and there. So, and that's for the Lever. My favorite thing, I'm saying about a 6.5. I'm looking at my notes. A 6.6 out of 10 for this one. I like this one a lot. But still, like, it's just by the time I got to this point, I'm like, all right, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, I'm not saying it was bad, but I just saying for me, I was like, all right, time to wrap it up. We're on track 10. Let's go. And then after all these years in the outro, it's 9 minutes and 53 seconds. I'm never opposed to long music. I enjoy long songs. Some of my favorite songs of all time are really long songs, but needless to say that this one was it ended on a very good note for me. I thought I was really nervous when I saw the track time when I saw the run listing time. I was like, oh god, it's gonna end on a really bad note. I'm really nervous about this, but no, this is 6.5 out of 10. It went up a little bit, a couple of notches there to a 6.5 out of 10 for all these after all these years and all the outro music to at a 9 minutes and 53 seconds long too. But as an overall listening, so if I could take probably a bunch of these tracks, Mike, and probably truthfully, I could make them and actually how to explain this. I could make it, and if I could take like 3 or 4 songs off this and throw this in their play a hard rock playlist, and I'd be like, all right, cool. I could listen to these on from time to time on my own. That being said, as a overall listening experience, as an album, it does feel a little weighted. It does feel a little long at some points, but needless to say, though, I did enjoy what I heard overall. So right now, for this, I'm gonna butcher it again. Silverchair's
Diorama.
Diorama. It's not working. My brain is not working today. Diorama.
I mean, you could say Diorama, like not the Dio, like Ronnie James
Like
Dio, but that
Ronnie James Diorama.
yeah.
No, but needless to say, though, I'm saying about like a 7.25, could go up to 7.5 out of 10. It's not bad, but I think with more listens to it over and over again and more time invested into their catalog, I think I could get more into it truthfully. But that's me. I'm saying about a 7.25.
No worries, JT. The villain is about to come up, so
I was trying to be generous too.
You have nothing to fear.
I was about to say I'm trying my best over here, and then Kyle comes out of nowhere.
What was that final score?
Oh, a 7.25.
Okay.
Kyle's like, Mike's right again.
I can only imagine what Kyle has to say right now.
That's funny.
JT, you all set on that side?
Are you all set, JT? Okay, there he is.
You're good to go, buddy. You're good to go.
Yeah, he is.
All right. All right. So, yes, villain is about to start here. Save the best for last. Okay. You know me. I'm not a fan of this part. Very few grunge bands that I'm actually into. When Mike suggested this album, I was actually pretty open to it. The song that he showed us from the Frog album, as I refer to it, it's pretty solid. I actually enjoyed that. Starting here, I'll just start right into it. Starting with Across the Night, it's not what I expected going into this album, but I still was a little bit open to it. It's interesting I didn't like the vocals on this track at all. That continues for a majority of this album. Very almost ELO inspired at a large part of this track. Actually, quite a bit of tracks on this album hit me as a grunge attempt at ELO. Doesn't quite meet that magic that ELO has to actually push the songs forward. The orchestration on this track is the high point. I really feel like the vocal melodies did not complement the instrumentation here at all. This one's a 4 for me. Did not enjoy this beginning to the album. Then you get to The Greatest View. It's very 90s rock. I know it's a 2002 album, but it sounds very dated. This is more along the lines of what I expected. Definitely has a better hook than the first song does. There's just something about, and this goes for the whole album, so I'll mention it here and I won't harp on it. The vocal production on this album is very strange to me. Like there's something going on that the vocals just sound like they don't fit with the rest of the production on it. It just really bothered my ears throughout the whole thing. The song itself is very mid. It's a 5 for me. Without You, it feels really messy and disjointed. I didn't feel like it was a very cohesive song at all. The vocals themselves didn't fit with the rest of the track nicely. The chorus was relatively solid, but the rest of it just didn't make up for it. We're at another 4. World Upon Your Shoulders and One Way Mule, they're both 5s, but for a bit of different reasons. World Upon Your Shoulders, we got really standard 90s style ballad. Pretty uninteresting to me, a bit repetitive, not my thing, but it's not a bad song if that's the style of music you're into. One Way Mule, again, same kind of thing. If you're into grunge, if you're into that like grunge and almost Mike, I think this is the track you mentioned, like that Black Sabbath feel to it.
Mhm.
If that's
Doom.
something
It's
you're
got a
into,
doom rock feel to it.
yeah. If that's something you're into, it's very slow and plodding, very grungy, very like more on the heavier doom side. For me, it's a 5. It's not something I would seek out, but it's not a bad song in and of itself. And here's where the album just really nosedives for me for the entire rest of the second half. Tuna in the Brine, first of all, horrendous name. Just gonna throw that out there. Horrendous track name. Uh, Again, this one just kind of super plotting and really goes back to that almost like ELO inspiration, but it just really misses the mark for me. The falsetto vocals on this don't work. I'm just really not a fan of this one at all. And it really feels as long as it is, which in and of itself, almost 6 minutes, not terrible for a song. But when it feels like it's taking forever, that's when it's a no for me. This was a 2. Another one of my least favorite tracks, back to back here. Too Much of Not Enough. I could not wait for this one to end. This was just a real nothing of a song for me. We're at a 2 on that one again. Slight jump up to a 3 on Love Your Life. I don't hold song names against it, but I would be crazy to not point out that I hate when people spell love with LUV, drives me nuts. This one was not enjoyable to me. This one actually, I know I mentioned ELO a few times, but this one specifically gave me callbacks to specifically the Out of the Blue album.
Mm.
But again, it just misses the magic that ELO had to make that work. The Lever, slightly better again with 4. At this point, I'm at album fatigue as someone that's not a fan of the grunge genre. It's a fine grunge tune if you're into that. The lead guitar does have some cool licks throughout this one, which is a cool addition there that I feel like this album's lacking on for the most part. It has some cool like guitar riffs here and there, but I feel like lead guitar licks was something that was missing a little bit. This song did a pretty good job with that. My favorite thing, this was not my favorite thing. This was a 3. There were, I don't think either of you mentioned this for the song. There are vocal runs. I think they're toward the end of the song, if I remember correctly. There's some vocal runs where it's like, terrible, atrocious vocal runs. I don't know who greenlit that one, but not good. I think objectively not great vocals in that part of the song. Specifically, the rest is pretty okay. And then after all these years, it's a 4 for me. It's a kind of standard album closer for like ballad. Not great. Nothing specifically interesting going on to keep my attention. Always give props to a band that does a hidden track, though. It's really not much to talk about, but always give props for that. So, I mean, overall, the instrumentation at many times here feels all over the place. I don't think that grunge, for me anyway, grunge and orchestral music doesn't mesh well together. Props for trying it. It is a pretty unique sounding piece of art. If you enjoy the grunge genre, I think it's a pretty solid uh experimentation into the orchestral version of that. It's a bit all over the place. I kind of wish they leaned more into the orchestration than bringing in random like grunge parts here and there. It didn't come off very cohesive. Uh, and like I said, that vocal production throughout the entire record, there's must be some filter on it. I can't fully put my finger on it, but it with every listen just drove me nuts. So overall, I'm sitting at a 3.5 personally on this one. So villain, yes, I know.
You're the
By quite a
villain.
bit.
I called it, and it's okay, Kyle. You can be wrong. All right, now
Oh my
I think
god.
so. It's you guys that are wrong.
sit on that chair that's behind you in the corner until you are sorry for what you've done. No, it's cool. It's not for everyone, but I do admit there are some weird stuff on it, and I think he's always liked some weird vocal stuff on it. I dig the effect on it and the feel of the vocals and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, it's not for everyone in that manner, but it does have that a certain quality to it that I think captures the dark and the light feeling that like almost you get from that album cover. Kind of like open the door and like there's a surprise behind it, and that's definitely different than what their previous work was. And I think that's kind of what they were hinting at. Like behind this door is the thing that I've been hiding when it comes to like my musical change up that I've been getting getting stale with the previous albums. I want to try something different. Kind of feels like that.
Mhm.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. That's our rating right there from the villain Kyle. Um, needless to say, thank you to James Buffoli, both on the chat board. Sorry for butchering your name. He's someone we do the show live on Monday nights EST, and he just said I was just listening to this album a minute ago. Ha ha ha. My favorite track is "Tune It in the Brine." Thank you for commenting and sharing your opinion and thoughts on this album. Appreciate it. Like I said, guys, we do the show live on Monday nights EST in the Eastern Standard Time, in around the evening, around like 5:30 ish every week. But that's gonna do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for tuning into our show. As always, we want to thank you for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us tonight. I want to thank these two gentlemen, as always, doing this. Yes, Mike, me, doing this show as always with me. This is Mike's pick. I think we're doing my pick next week, I believe. Or we're doing another album. I forgot. Whatever. We'll figure that out in a minute. But yeah. But anyways, thanks so much for tuning in as always. But for all of us here at the Super Review Show's Career Retrospectives, stay